to silence.
Every harmful word is
Silent.
even prayer or mitzvah can't undo lashon hara, evil speeches. Keep your mouth closed to protect your soul. Lashon hara ruins, takes its toll. Speak to teach to save to guide. Never to gossip, never to deride. Silence is power, silence is right. Stay silent, don't start a fight. If you have nothing good, stay silent. Every harmful word is violent. Talk only to hell, guide on. Otherwise, stay silent. Keep the tongue warm.
B'Shem Hashem na'aseh v'natzliach, Shiur Torah, Bruchim Habayim. We are back here on our Wednesday night, Stump the Rabbi, where after some Divrei Torah, you guys will ask some questions, and Be'ezrat Hashem HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. Tonight's shiur is going to be for the Refuah Shlema and Hatzlacha Rabba for Rav Ephraim ben Shulamit, Rabbanit Sarah bat Anat, Rabbanit Levana bat Sarah, Sarah bat Levana, Avi Mori David ben Esriya, Imi Morati Doris bat Jora, and all of Am Yisrael and all the righteous Noahis that continue to watch us, continue to learn with us, continue to support the organization, and continue to be partners with us in this extraordinary Kiruv revolution that Baruch Hashem, the organization, is doing over the last 10 years. Anyone that wants to donate can donate on be'ezrathashem.org. And also, as a reminder for anyone that is not familiar, we have a tzaddik that for many years has been going to Kever Rachel to do special prayers for people, and even makes a recording of the prayer that he makes for each individual person, which we send it to them. And this Sunday is the yard site of Rachel Imenu. It's the yard site of Rachel Imenu, where there's going to be countless people actually going to Kever Rachel, and the tzaddik is willing to go there even this year. This is the first time over the last 10 years that he's been willing to do that. For the sake of Am Yisrael, to help the organization, to help people. So anyone that wants to get a special blessing and a recording of that blessing from us can go to our website, the shop page, and get the Kever Rachel blessing over there. It's a $250, I believe. And you'll get you'll get the blessing, you'll get the recording of it, and certainly we look forward to those blessings being fulfilled. If you don't want to, you don't want to. There's no obligation. It's not Shabbat that you have to, but certainly it's something that brings a lot of people, salvations, blessings, and the people that get it, usually it's the same exact people over and over again because they see it obviously as something fruitful. So it's one way to help the tzaddik, to help the organization, and to also help yourself. Secondly, anyone that wants to get the Kiruv boxes. The Kiruv boxes are also on the Be'ezrat Hashem shop. You can get them, and the sponsors are saying that we could continue for another day, for another 20 of these for free. For anyone that buys one, gets one free. So one is for yourself, one is to do Kiruv with. So anyone that wants to get one can get one, and you'll get one for free. And of course, the smart people that are also, have the ability to financially, that want to sponsor or want to get 10 of them or 20 of them or so on, there's a very big discount there as well. It's instead of it being $1,500, it's only $1,000. So that Baruch Hashem is also available on the Be'ezrat Hashem store. Lastly, anyone that wants to order books or the Asher Yitzhar cards, of course, you could always go to the Kiruv store that we have, kiruvstore.org. So, with that being said, Rabotai Kareem, we'll get started. There's a very, very interesting, deep subject that I am sure has been on your mind at some point in your life, and you did not have an answer for it. Parashat Lech Lecha. Parashat Lech Lecha is an extraordinary parasha. We learn about Avraham Avinu, but even more so, we learn about how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world. And in Parashat Lech Lecha, Hashem tells Avraham Avinu that Am Yisrael is going to be slaves in Egypt for 400 years. And only after the Amorites, the Canaanite nation of the Amorites, sins fulfill their measure, will Am Yisrael be allowed and gifted the land of Israel. This is a prime example of Hashem's knowledge of the future. And of course, if Hashem knows the future, the famous question is, do we still have free choice? This very deep and important question will be addressed, among other things, Be'ezrat Hashem, and after that, you guys will ask some questions, and Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. So, we start off Parashat Lech Lecha, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, Lech Lecha me'artzecha me'moladatecha. Go for yourself from your land, from your relatives. Leave the comfort zone, which is something that many people have to do as part of their tshuva, as part of their conversion. You have to leave that comfort zone that you live in, where you're, surrounded by goyim, you're surrounded by idolaters, you're surrounded by people that are not living in a Jewish community, that praying every day to Hashem. And in order for you to do tshuva, in order for you to convert, you have to live in a Jewish community. It's very, very necessary, and I know that some of you have asked me about different strategies. I even have a student from England that years ago came to me and asked me about different things and guidance for conversion. And the biggest battle that she had over the years, among the divorce and the complications of life and so on, was moving to a Jewish community because her ex-husband became an anti-Semite. And she wanted to convert. Her daughters literally learned Hebrew better than Hebrew speakers already by the age of like 6 or 7. And but she could not convert because she couldn't move to a Jewish community because of the court situation. Well, Baruch Hashem, Rabotai Kareem, I'd like to tell you that despite all of the difficulties, despite all of the endless tests that this woman had, Baruch Hashem, she is finally converted today. Shtabach Shemo La'ad. Very difficult battle, very difficult test, but of course, this was one of the ones that wanted it, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu knew her heart, and after testing her over and over again for years, Baruch Hashem, she merited becoming part of Am Yisrael. Many people look for shortcuts. Many people look for different things. Rabotai, it doesn't work. It simply does not work. Even if somebody's going to convert you, despite you living in the end of the world where your next door neighbor is a cow or perhaps a mountain, and they'll convert you anyway, all you're doing is you're asking for problems, as I told one of my dear students today that wants to convert with his family. Why? Because you need the Jewish community. You need to go to synagogue. You need to have a yeshiva for your kids. And if you are someone that has somebody to teach you, a rabbi that's going to teach you on a regular basis at home, no problem. But most people don't have that. Most people say, well, why can't I just read books to my kids? It's not enough. It's not enough. You need Judaism, and especially people that are new to it. So Avraham Avinu is told by and commanded by HaKadosh Baruch Hu to leave. Leave his comfort zone. And in the process, his number one Talmid, aside from Eliezer Eved Avraham, his number one Talmid was his nephew, Lot. Lot decides to leave Avraham and go to Sodom. Why? There's more money over there. There's more materialism over there. And also, there's no rabbis over there. So Avraham, my rabbi, is not going to have the ability to tell me what to do over there. He's not going to tell me what to do, what to give, if I'm allowed to steal, not allowed to steal. Lot goes. And of course, as the parasha tells us, a war begins, the 5 kings versus the 4 kings. In the process, the disaster of a lifetime happens to Lot, where he becomes a hostage. Why does he become a hostage? Why don't they just kill him like everybody else? They killed a lot of people. Why don't they just kill him? Because he looked exactly like Avraham Avinu. And the Midrash says, because he looked like Avraham Avinu, these kings wanted to show their people that they captured Avraham Avinu, because they knew that Avraham Avinu is the man of God. He's the most powerful man in the world. But if they captured him, he's a prisoner, then they really are the kings of the world. So what happens? In chapter 14, verse number 14, it says, Vayishma Avram, ki nishba achiv, vayerek et chanichav, ילידי ביתו 18,300 וירדוף עד דן. And when Avraham heard that his kinsman was taken captive, he armed his disciples, who had been born in his house, 318, and he pursued them as far as Dan. Interestingly, even though this was not originally part of the shiur, of course, the Kadosh Baruch Hu sends us many messages, and we listen to different students, different colleagues, different chachamim. I thought that this was an absolute must, even though it doesn't have much to do with the topic at hand of Hashem knowing the future yet. Here we see that Lot nishba. Nishba means became captive. And Avraham took action. In the world today, many rabbis and non-rabbis have decided that everyone that is secular, every Jew that's a mechalel Shabbat, oved avodah zarah, everyone that keeps nothing, is a Tinok Shenishba. He's like a captive. Says our dear Rav, Rabbi Yaakov Shmuel, who is not only our editor, but also a Baal Sefer, Bo Nedaber Al Zeh, just came out with it, Baruch Hashem. He's been working with Be'ezrat Hashem for many years. He brings an extraordinary chidush. And he says, Rav, he tells me, he says, Rav, I heard from your lectures, when he was helping us with my book, that you said that even if somebody is a nishba, is a tinok shenishba, is a captive baby, secular Jew, he's a captive baby, okay, don't leave him nishba, don't leave him captive. And he says today, look, we see it in the parasha. Avraham saw that Lot is nishba, Lot is captive. What did Avraham do? Avraham went to war to go free his nephew. So he says, so even the parashat tells us exactly what you said in the shiurim, exactly what you said in the book. Even if you want to conclude that everyone is a nishba, why are you leaving him nishba? Why are you leaving them captive? Why are you leaving them tinok shenishba? Go help them, go do kiruv. Go help them do tshuva, get them one of these kiruv boxes. Help people. Just today, one of my students told me that she gave out some of our kiruv boxes to our co-workers that were Jewish. And they were literally, they fell off their chairs. Never seen anything like this. Wow, it's so amazing. Started watching it on the spot. Over the holidays. We gave out dozens of them to people we had in the synagogue. People I never met before. People, most of them didn't even know who I was. Not that I needed to, but they now met me. They opened it up. Wow, I never seen anything like this. Businessmen, developers, all types of people from all walks of life open up, start watching it. And you start seeing these people literally leave everything and start watching it. The next day they come to me, it's like, wow, I watched the first thing, the movie. It's amazing. And then the other one says, listen, I started watching, I couldn't stop watching it, but it's 19 hours. I had to go to sleep eventually. I couldn't watch the whole 19 hours. I'm like, it's okay, don't worry. Another one told me I watched it until the battery died. I said, don't worry, there's a wire inside the box. You connect it, it recharges. The Kiruv box, Rabotai Karim, is making a revolution in people's lives. As I told you time and time again, it's the greatest gift a Kadosh Baruch Hu is given, not only to Be'ezrat Hashem, but to this generation. It's the ultimate tool to do Kiruv without saying a single word. Everyone says, yes, I want one. In fact, one of my students told me today, she gave it out to those coworkers, and one of our non-Jewish coworkers saw it, she became jealous. How come I don't get one? How come I don't get one? So she asked me, Rabbi, is it okay? She's not Jewish, but she's really nice, and can I give her one? I said, okay, give her one. It's okay. B'ezrat Hashem, she'll do tshuva. At the very least, she'll become a righteous Noahide, perhaps maybe even convert to Judaism, just like this other dear student in England. The point is, Rabotai, Tinok Shenishba, this whole concept of Tinok Shenishba, that everyone is a captive baby like Lot, is not necessarily something that Chachamim agree on across the board. In fact, the vast majority of Chachamim do not agree with it. As Rav Ovadia Alav Shalom writes in Yebia Omer, in Chelek Yud, the 10th volume, in Siman 55, in Ot Yud Aleph. Here, Rabotai, Rav Ovadia clarifies exactly the situation. And he goes over through with endless sources, as he usually does, about the different Chachamim that talked about Tinok Shenishba. This Chacham said Tinok Shenishba, that one said Tinok Shenishba. But he concludes the answer as follows. He says, although all of these matters that the Chachamim have brought regarding the Tinok Shenishba, pertaining to the secular people, are relevant in remote places that do not have any Judaism. And most of the people there are idolaters. This is not relevant to our places, meaning to our Jewish communities, whereby these people see synagogues, Batei Midrash, the study halls, and they see with their own eyes many religious Jews that keep Shabbat, like the Halakha says. May there be more. And yet, these secular Jews are still not deterred from desecrating Shabbat. Therefore, you cannot consider them Tinok Shenishba, but rather consider them like idolaters. So, one way or the other, whether you want to be like the few lenient Gdolim that have said Tinok Shenishba, or the vast majority of Chachamim, like Rav Ovadia and countless others that said there's no Tinok Shenishba today, like Rav Yashiv has said no Tinok Shenishba today, Rav Kanievsky, Rav Wasserman, and so on. Regardless, do something about it. Help people do tshuva. Where could you learn it from? Avraham Avinu. Who's better than Avraham Avinu? From Avraham Avinu, Am Yisrael started. From Avraham Avinu, Am Yisrael started. And this, Rabotai Karim, is certainly an important insight, important addition to the subject at hand. But the subject at hand, about Hashem knowing the future, where do we see it in the parasha? In chapter 15, verse number 16. After the war, and Avraham destroys all the enemies, gets back Lot, the king of Sdom offers him a bunch of money. Avraham says, I don't even want a shoelace from you. So I don't want you to ever say to people, I made you rich. This, by the way, is the reason why a rabbi should never ask people for money. You could have campaigns, you could send people links, but never beg people for money. Why? Because once you start asking people for money, they stop listening to you. And if you really want to help them, that should never be the case. Either way, the Torah tells us that after that, HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes a covenant, a special covenant with Avraham Avinu. The Brit Ben HaBetarim, the covenant between parts, where he promises them that he's not only going to get to start the nation of Israel, he's going to have a son, but he promises him endless blessings. But in there, Avraham is told that it's going to be a process. Well, first, your descendants will be aliens in a land not their own, and they will serve them, and they will oppress them for 400 years. And when is this blessing going to be fulfilled and take the next place? In verse number 16 it says, and the fourth generation shall return here, meaning the land of Israel, for the iniquity of the Amorite shall not yet be full until then. Here, Rabotai Karim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu unveils a secret about himself. It's not really a secret, it's a lacha, that he knows the future. He knows the future. And of course, the Rishonim, the Chachamim, the Gdolim, the Tzadikim that investigated every little tiny part of the Torah, every nuance in the Torah, every verse, every letter, every part of it throughout their entire lives, ask the question, if Hashem knows that the Amorites are going to sin by the fourth generation, doesn't that mean that he determined it? In essence, he is in control of choice, so it's not really free choice? It's a very important question that people ask all the time. If Hashem knows the future, do I really have free will? Well, I don't know. Take your hand, slap yourself in the face. Did Hashem decide that or you decided that? Obviously you decided, so there is free choice. But still, you see that Hashem knows the future. So how does that work? Rav Shach, alav shalom, asked the Brisker Rav this question. And he said, although we have a mitzvah to have Emunah in Hashem, to have faith in Hashem, we also have knowledge that Hashem certainly created the world from pure logic. These beautiful world and this creation did not come from nothing like the people that choose not to believe, that call themselves atheists. Of course, Hashem created this. But yet we have a mitzvah to have Emunah in Hashem. So where does Emunah fit in? That's what Rav Shach asked, the Brisker Rav. And the Brisker Rav, alav shalom, said an extraordinary answer. Chachamim say little and do much. And he says as follows. Emunah in Hashem is where the mind no longer understands his ways. Like the example here with Avraham Avinu, where Kadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham that the Amorites, they're going to sin. And only after they sin to the point of filling their measure will they deserve to get punished and get destroyed and kicked out of the land. So as my dear Rav Ephraim Kachlon, Kadosh, V'Taor, V'Tzadik, an extraordinary Chacham, which Baruch Hashem just published another book, so that means we have 3 books on the way to distribute One of them has already been being distributed in Israel, about Ikveta the Meshicha. 2 of them should arrive in Israel and in America over the next week. Baruch Hashem. We stopped counting how many books he's published so far, and each one is greater than the next. So Avraham says, past, present, and future are all things that are determined by time. The past is what already happened. The present is what's happening. The future is what will happen. These are all things that are tied to time. The Mishnah in Masechet Avot says, in 10 statements, Hashem created the world. But if you count from the verses, you find 9. So then the Mishnah answers, yes, because you missed the one. Where's the first one? The first one is the word Bereshit. Bereshit, which the Ramban says also means with wisdom, but Bereshit was actually a word of creation. What did Hashem create with the word Bereshit? He created time. He created time. Because before that, there was no time, because it was just Enod Milvado, there was just nothing but Hashem. And he's not subject to time. He's not subject to time, he's not subject to space. But that was created with Bereshit. Humans do not have an understanding of 2 things: timelessness and spacelessness. Something that doesn't take up space. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us things in His creation for us to at least get an idea. Not a complete understanding, but an idea of what it is. For example, when it comes to spacelessness, something that doesn't take up space, we say that Hashem takes up everything. Enod milvado, there's nothing else but Him. The whole world is Him. He is everywhere. He's omnipresent. But yet, there's nothing physical. The Gemara says that, brings a verse from the Torah about the measurements of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. It says that the Kodesh Kodeshim was a measure of 20 amot. 20 amot, for argument's sake, is about 40 feet. Between 30 and 40 feet, depending on which chacham you paskin by, whether it's each amah is 1.5 feet or almost 2 feet. Needless to say, let's just, for argument's sake, let's just call it 20 feet. From wall to wall. The Aron HaKodesh, the Gemara says, took up no space. How do we know? Because the Torah tells us that the Aron HaKodesh was put in the middle of the Mishkan, in the middle of the Kodesh Kodeshim. That was 20 amot wide. And the Aron HaKodesh itself was 10 amot. But yet when they counted how much empty space is on each side of the Aron HaKodesh, it was 10 amot. 10 here and 10 here. Doesn't make any sense. Why? Because logically speaking, if it was put exactly in the middle, if you have 20 and this is 10, that leaves 10 left. So if you put it exactly in the middle, it should be 5 here and 5 there. But no. The Aron HaKodesh was in the middle, 10 here, 10 there, which in essence means that there's 30 amot there. But it wasn't 30, it was 20. How could this be? Says the Gemara, the Aron HaKodesh was on such a high level of spirituality that it was not subject to time and space, like we are used to, especially space. It was spaceless, took up no space. Another example is the clouds that surrounded Am Yisrael in the desert. The clouds, which were on such a high level of spirituality, of Kedusha, that if somebody looked through the cloud, they could see through anything. So if, let's say, somebody had a cup, like the Bezrat Hashem cup that you could get the BH shop, bhshop.org, this, you can't see through this. But if you put this right next to the cloud would make this see-through. The cloud would make this see-through. And you could see that there's tea in here. These are different things that show that when it comes to things that the more connected they are to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the less they are subject to time and space. In fact, for many years, the nations thought that air, whether it be different gases or the air we breathe in, didn't have any measure until the philosophers and the scientists found that even air has weight. Now, they could have saved themselves the time and the agony to discover that, because it's actually already written in the Torah. In the book of Job, chapter 28, verse 25, it literally says, La'asot laruach mishkal, making a prescribed weight for the wind, meaning the wind has weight. If it has weight, that means you can measure it. And therefore, you can quantify it. This is not possible with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, where Hashem has no image and no likeness of an image. As the Rambam says in Ilchot Yesodei Torah, En lo guf, en lo dmut haguf, he has no body and no likeness of a body. In fact, he says something that we always have to remember, especially with all of the heresy that's out there that tries to confuse people, that the Rambam writes in Chot Yesodei Torah, chapter 1, Halacha number 7. Since Hashem is not a body, the circumstances associated with bodies that produce division and separation are not relevant to him. And therefore, it is impossible for him to be anything other than one. Furthermore, he says in Halacha number 8 that a body cannot exist in two places simultaneously, subject to the laws of nature. So the Brisker Rav says, this timelessness, spacelessness of Hashem that is beyond your comprehension, that's where Emunah comes in. That's where Emunah comes in. Because it's beyond our mind to understand it. When it comes to timelessness, one of the ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us to understand timelessness is dreams. As the Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, most dreams are nonsense that are influenced by the things that a person sees throughout their waking hours. But I know people that they have very, very vivid dreams, that they feel like is pretty much like another life. Why? Because they feel like they went to sleep and they have a whole thing that happened. They went to sleep, and then all of a sudden, they see these people that are trying to go against them, and they're fighting against them, and they keep moving from place to place. And then after that, they have a discussion with the other side, say, leave us alone and we'll leave you alone. And they decide, okay, you know what? We're going to move this place. And there's a whole thing that goes on for weeks and months, and in some cases, years. I met one person over the holiday, said I literally had an experience where it felt like not hours, not days, not weeks, but literally thousands and thousands of years of difficulties and different things that he experienced. Of course, this is a very rare scenario. Most people, they have a dream and they feel like they went through weeks or months of a period of life. They had, raised kids, they got married, they, had a job, they had problems, they had fighting, they had all types of things, and they wake up in the morning exhausted and surprised that there's another life here. Whoa, what happened? They thought that this other life was real. And sometimes they wake up and they look at the watch, and it's the middle of the night, and they realize, wait, they've only been sleeping for 15 minutes. But the dream felt like it was for months. Why? Because in your dreams, the neshama, which the Chachamim says in the mind is in the brain, is not subject to the same rules of nature. It's not subject to space and time. And therefore the mind goes and lives and has these experiences that could feel like it's weeks and months and years and so on. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us that in order for us to understand timelessness. Why do we need to understand timelessness? As Rav Ephraim says, the moment that you can define something by space or time, that means that it's not applicable to Hashem. The past, the present, and the future are not applicable to Hashem, because anything that is subject to time and space is a creation and not the creator that is above it all. Anything that has a beginning has an end, and therefore it's not applicable to Hashem. So when Hashem says in Bereshit, in chapter 15, verse 17, that we talked about, that the fourth generation shall return here, for the iniquity of the Amorites shall not yet be full until then. It means that Hashem is already in the future. But to him, it's the present. In essence, Hashem is telling Avraham Avinu his knowledge of the reality of the future. He did not determine the future. Just because he sees it does not mean that he influences it. And of course, you're going to try to understand that, but it's impossible to understand timelessness and spacelessness the same way that you understand that your hand is in front of you when you're looking at it, the same way that you understand the different things that are facts of your life. It's not possible for you to understand timelessness and spacelessness. And that, the Brisker Rav says, that's where Emunah comes in. That is where Emunah comes in. To have Emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because your mind simply does not have the ability to comprehend these things. Now, another way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gifted us the ability to understand omnipresence, that He is everywhere, is in a relatively interesting and recent discovery and much further development in recent years called quantum mechanics. I have about the last year or so, or maybe longer, I've been looking into quantum mechanics. Whenever I can't read Torah, I try to occupy my mind with something else that's useful. And I actually happened to have a student that told me recently that that's actually his field of work. That's what he's spent his whole life studying and working on. And of course, we're not going to give you a whole shiur about quantum mechanics right now, but this is how he wrote me an explanation, briefly, of what it is. Quantum, when it pertains to quantum computers and so on. And he says as follows: a regular computer, for it to encode the word teshuva, the computer would physically have to produce a string of digits that are ones and zeros. He actually gave the exact ones, which is 1000, 111, and so on and so forth. And then the computer then sends it to the screen that translates the string back into letters that we can recognize. Physically speaking, there are several ways of producing that signal. The most common way is to use electric current, where no current means 0 and some current means 1. This is a real physical and measurable quantity that could be used to encode information. An electrical current is basically a huge collection of electrons, and while measuring current, we don't particularly care what each individual electron is doing. The real world, however, is much stranger than that. It's much stranger than that. Why? If we start looking at the individual electrons, we see that their existence isn't as clear-cut, where the electron is here or it's somewhere else. No. In essence, these electrons choose to pop in and out of existence and seemingly random appear elsewhere and randomly exist in both places at once. Although it sounds like science fiction, it's a measurable and well-known scientific fact, and the overall phenomenon is called quantum mechanics. And he went further about how this is applicable to other things, and actually I'll read another couple of lines, also to show you his mind also being connected to Torah. He says, people had the idea of using individual electrons, or any other object that acts as quantum, as storage of information, so that we could encode a word like teshuva and also a word like bitachon at the same. It defies classical knowledge, but it's completely possible for quantum information to encode these two words at the same time. So here, you have a very sophisticated explanation of something. How does this help us understand Hashem a little bit better? Is when HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, everything is mine, enod milvado, there's nothing else but Hashem. Hashem is omnipresent, meaning that He is here, He's where you are, He's in somewhere else, He is everywhere, He's in your mind, He knows what's in your mind, He knows what's in your heart, which we will learn later on in this parasha. He is everywhere at the same time. For a human mind to understand something being everywhere is impossible because it's physical. And therefore, if it's here, it cannot be somewhere else. At the same time, it's either here or it's there. You can say that it could travel really fast back and forth, but to say it's in two places at the same time is not possible. Why? Because it's subject to the laws of nature. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the discovery of quantum mechanics, where you can actually see in the creation, and you can measure it, and you can influence it. And the goal is to do very, very big things with it by simply understanding the discovery that one electron can be in multiple places at the same time. It's the same electron, and it's not traveling back and forth. It's the same electron, but it can be in multiple places. Another extraordinary thing that the Torah tells us, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu allowed us to learn from different creations. Now, when it comes to this decree, HaKadosh Baruch Hu specifies that it's even though there are 7 Canaanite nations, it's the Amorite nation that will have to sin. In essence, fill the measure to the point where they're removed. Why the Amorite nation? If we look at the Torah, we'll see that the Amorite nation is constantly mentioned in the entire Tanakh, in Deuteronomy, in Sefer Shoftim, the book of Judges. The prophet Amos talks about them. Yeshua ben Nun dealt with them. Pinchas. It's constantly mentioned. Why? Because the Amorite nation was the greatest among those, so much so that their leader, Sichon, the original leader, Sichon, was already alive at the time of Noach. That's what Chachamim says. So Rashi says, Sichon was already alive at the time of Noach and actually made a deal with Noach to save him. But because he was such a huge giant, he could not fit inside the Teva, the ark. So he was permitted to hold on to it. There was also the animal Reuven that was huge, that also could not fit into the Teva and had to be tied to it and, in essence, walk behind it, and Avraham would feed it through a little window. And that was a baby Reuven. But Sichon also. Sichon was not let into the Teva, but he lived for a long time until he went to war with Moshe Rabbeinu. And this Sichon was an enormous giant, and his nation was a nation of giants that were powerful beyond any comprehension. Before Moshe Rabbeinu goes to war with Og, the king of Bashan, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, don't be afraid, I'll be with you and you'll destroy him just like I helped you with Sichon. Because in the natural law of things, it is impossible for anybody to defeat Sichon or the Amorites. They're just too powerful. They're too big. So what brought down this nation? If they were so powerful, and their leader at least lived for so many years. We're talking about well over 1,000 years, a couple thousand years. What brought them down? Says the Ramban. Here HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us Nothing could have brought them down. No nation could have defeated them in a physical way, in a natural way. And the only reason they went down is because of their sins and their violations of the Noahide laws. Whether it's immorality, bestiality, idolatry, and so on. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Avraham Avinu, even with these nations that go against me, I don't punish them right away. I allow them time, but if they continue sinning, eventually they fill up the measure. In so many words, think of it as, let's say there's a cup. And so long as the sins do not fill up the cup to the top, the nation continues to exist and even prosper. But the moment they get to the top of the cup, like the Amorite nation, destroyed. This is the reason why when foolish people say that Tzal, the IDF, is the only thing that's protecting Israel from being destroyed, this is 100% heresy. The Talmud Yerushalmi, in Masechet Chagiga, chapter 1, halacha number 7, says a story where Rabbi Kadosh, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, he was the ultimate Kiruv rabbi. Not only wrote the Mishnah, but taught Torah, and especially when he discovered the power of Kiruv, when he saw the heavenly ways of how they're treating his nephew, Rabbi Chia, who was a student, where all the tzaddikim have place in heaven and they have the ability to study at the yeshiva of Moshe Rabbeinu, at the yeshiva of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, at the yeshiva of Yaakov Avinu, at the yeshiva of Hashem, but before they're able to go from place to place, they need permission and they need angels to take them. But Rabbi Chia, who did Kiruv his whole life, did not need permission. He can go wherever he wants like he owns the place. When Rabbi HaKadosh found this out, he literally ran into the street looking to help somebody do tshuva, looking for somebody secular. Today, you wouldn't have to look very far, unfortunately. But during the lifetime of his nephew, Rabbi HaKadosh sent Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Asi, and Rabbi Ami to Israel to go do Kiruv. They went there and they got to a city. And they want to teach Torah, want to see. And the people there, the leaders over there, says, no, we don't need everything. We don't need anything. We have everything we need. Thank you. Powerful, okay, rich. So the Chachamim asked them, bring us the protectors of your city. Bring us your IDF. So of course they were proud of this. They brought them their top soldiers. Each one was bigger and more powerful than the next. Giants, enormous and powerful. The Chachamim look at these soldiers and it says, these are your neturei karta, meaning these are your protectors of the city. These are the destroyers of the city. They're going to bring destruction to your city. They're not going to protect it. So the people said, we don't understand. You asked us to bring you the protectors of the city. We're bringing you the soldiers. Who do you mean? He says, we don't mean the soldiers that go fight. We mean the protectors of the city, which where are your Torah scholars? They are the real protectors of the city. The problem with people, when they don't understand what the power of the Torah is, they think that the army or the alliance with other governments or the weapons or the technology or money is what's protecting the people. They don't realize that when they see war, terrorism, their reaction is, oh, if there's war, there's terrorism, we need more soldiers. We need more soldiers. Even though they don't even have enough equipment for the current soldiers that they have, they want to draft more of the yeshiva bachurim. They don't realize that terrorism, that war, is not happening because you have a lacking in soldiers. It's happening because the people are mechaleh Shabbat. It's happening because there are heretics. It's happening because people are not observing the Torah. You don't need more soldiers. Because, in fact, in many cases, it's the leaders and it's the soldiers that are the destroyers of the city, not the protectors of the city, because so long as you're violating Shabbat, so long as you're not following the Torah, you're the one that's bringing the terrorism. You're filling up the cup with sins, and Hashem brings a decree in order to save the nation. He forces us to do tshuva. When a person hears that initially, like, yeah, but what do you mean? We need an army. No one said we don't need an army. Even Moshe Rabbeinu had an army. David HaMelech had an army. But if you look at what our forefathers did, Elef Lamateh, 1,000 soldiers and 1,000 people praying for them and learning Torah for their sake. Who's really winning the battle? The combination of both. For every soldier that's fighting with a gun, there has to be a soldier that's learning Torah for his sake. Why? Because we're not fighting in accordance to the laws of nature. In comparison to Israel, the entire world is Sichon, is the Amorites. They're all bigger than us. They're all more powerful. You can say, no, they have the best army, they have the best nothing. We saw on October 7th what happens when a Kadosh Baruch Hu, in essence, hides his face. All the budgets in the world and the weapons in the world mean nothing. When a Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't help us, we have nothing. The entire world is the Amorites relative to Israel. They're all too powerful. They're all too big. The way we have survived is only by the mercy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore, a person has to know that even if you don't understand this, doesn't mean you have to go against it. Because you don't understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu's omnipresence. You don't understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu's endlessness. You don't understand. But we have an obligation to believe it. In another place, we see how HaKadosh Baruch Hu knows our thoughts. In the Gemara in Masechet Megillah, page 7, they ask, how do we know, or page 17:8, how do we know that the entire Torah was written with Ruach HaKodesh, prophecy? It says, from Megillat Esther we can see it. Why? It says what Haman was thinking. Another example of that is our Parashat Lech Lecha. We know, of course, Hashem gave us the entire Torah, but the Chachamim proved that even the Tanakh, the other 19 books of the Tanakh, were also written with prophecy, with Ruach HaKodesh. Because you see that it's written people's thoughts. But here Avraham Avinu is being told by Kadosh Baruch Hu that he will have a son. In chapter 17, verse 17, it says, and Avraham threw himself upon his face and laughed. And he thought, shall a child be born to 100-year-old man? Shall Sarah, a 90-year-old woman, give birth? And Avraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might live before you. And God said, nonetheless, your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you shall call his name Yitzchak. And I will fulfill my covenant with him, as an everlasting covenant for an offspring after him. So, here Avraham is, in essence, we're seeing the communication in two ways. One is he spoke to Hashem directly. We see Avraham said to Hashem. But before that, it says, and Avraham thought. And Hashem tells us, what did Avraham think? Shall a child be born to a 100-year-old man? Shall Sarah, a 90-year-old woman, give birth? So this is why one of our 13 principles of faith is to not only believe that Hashem created the world and He's only one, but also that Hashem knows our thoughts. And that's why the Gemara in Masechet Yomah says, the thoughts of sin are worse than the sin. The thoughts of sin are worse than the sin. And Rabbi Chaim Volozhin explains that since the neshama is in the mind, and Hashem knows what's on your mind, when you sin by thinking of immorality, all types of things, it's worse than the sin itself. Why? Because the only one that knows about it is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In essence, this is the Kodesh Kodeshim between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu shows us that even though Avraham Avinu had doubts, questions, how could this be? I'm 100 years old, Sarah Imenu is 90 years old. He didn't punish him for it. He didn't rebuke him for it. But later on, when Sarah Imenu hears about it, she said something. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu rebuked her. It's different making a statement versus thinking. Needless to say, we see from here that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is limitless. The laws of nature are not applicable to him. This is a very important and fundamental foundation of Torah, of Judaism, of good. Because the moment a person applies the laws of nature to Hashem, they're applying limitation to him. This is why we fight so hard against the heretics, because they all have the same exact strategy, which is to limit Hashem. Saying he has an arm, saying he needs something. All of these things are not applicable to Hashem. Because the moment you subject the laws of nature, the limitations of humanity, of creation, the moment you subject those to Hashem, not only are you an idol worshiper, according to Halacha, a heretic, according to Halacha, but also you're giving yourself a license to do whatever you want. A license to do whatever you want, to say whatever you want. Because if he needs something, then I can decide whether I want to give it to him or not. If he is limited, then he's like me. And all of these convoluted ideologies that keep returning from generation to generation, whether it was from the Greeks or the Christianity or the other idolatrous religions throughout history, or heretics out there, the Maskilim, the Enlightenment movement, that with the Zionists after them, all of them have this common denominator. which is to start off their heresy, start off their plan, build their entire plan on limiting Hashem, subjecting him to laws of nature, subject him to the same laws that are applicable to them, to the measly human being that the moment he has an ingrown toenail, he can't function. The moment he has a stomach ache, he can't do anything. They're subjecting these laws to Hashem in different ways. So how could a person arrive at the right conclusion? Understand this. We have an obligation to serve Hashem regardless of whether we understand or don't understand. We also have a mitzvah, meaning we get a reward to have Emunah in Hashem. To have Emunah in Hashem. When things are not so simple to believe, or in fact impossible for us to believe, to understand. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us, you see Avraham Avinu, when I told him that he's going to be blessed, that he's going to have all of these amazing things, Avraham Avinu, it says, he believed it. And it counted as righteousness for him. Meaning that in chapter 15, verse number 6, and he trusted in Hashem and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. Hashem promises Avraham that he will have a son. Hashem promises Avraham that he will have more descendants than the stars in the sky. You're promising this to a 100-year-old man. It doesn't make any sense. You're promising him something that he's been trying for 100 years. And failed. Doesn't make any sense. But the moment HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us to Avraham, HaKadosh Baruch Hu testifies on behalf of Avraham that Avraham trusted Hashem. Avraham believed it with all of his heart, without a doubt. And he trusted in Hashem, and therefore Hashem reckoned to him as righteousness. Meaning that despite the fact that some of the things are beyond your ability to comprehend, having Emunah, when your mind no longer is able to digest or even understand things, whether it's how Hashem knows your thoughts, how he knows the future and without changing free will, before, the after, all of the different things. But yet you believe and you follow and you do what Hashem says, that in itself is the mitzvah that counted for Avraham as his merit that will still carry on till this day. And this, Rabotai Karim, is what is supposed to be in every Jewish mind, in every human mind, at all times. Hashem gave us different tools in the world to give us a little bit of an idea of how things work. Whether it's the Aron HaKodesh that doesn't take up space, or it's the dreams that are timeless, or it's the quantum mechanics where an electron is in two places at the same time, or countless other things that you can see in creation where Hashem gave us an idea of how these impossible to understand things are at least understandable to a certain degree. But they're still going to get to a point where you're not going to understand. Why does this seemingly, or why is this verifiably righteous person suffering so much? Why is this wicked person prospering so much? Why did this happen to me? Why did that happen to me? Why did this happen to her? Why did that happen to her? That's where Emunah comes in. The moment your mind cannot understand, do yourself the favor, do yourself the kindness, and have Emunah in Hashem, because it'll count as righteousness for you, which is worth much more than you can possibly imagine. We don't have to understand in order to have Emunah in Hashem. We need to have Emunah. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do the rest. This, Rabotai Karim, is some of the things that we learned this week. And now you could ask some questions, and Bezrat Hashem, Kadosh Baruch Hu will give us the answers. You know, it took a lot of time and effort to study for this lecture, and every lecture changes my life a little bit. And I hope it does to you as well. If you're enjoying it, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share with people that you care about, people that you know could benefit from it. You may end up changing their life. Thanks again for learning with me, and Bezrat Hashem will continue growing together. Now back to the lecture. The Torah says to kill a baby, and that's very sad. The Torah doesn't say specifically go kill babies. The Torah says that if the Amalek, or the different nations that we're fighting against, if we're at war with them, during war, there's going to be collateral damage. So if that means women and children, then that's what it is. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't allow us to risk our lives like the foolish government of Israel does with the Israeli soldiers, where they tell them to tell the enemy the plan before we attack. Tell the enemy we're about to bomb them in this building. Tell the enemy we're about to go attack here before we go there, so there's less collateral damage. This is stupidity. This is pure stupidity, and it leads to, unfortunately, many deaths of Israeli soldiers. And it's not something that any other government or any other army in all of history has ever done. Kadosh Baruch Hu says when it's war, there's going to be collateral damage. And in fact, you have to destroy. You have to destroy in this way. That's how it's commanded by Hashem. And the reason for that is because, first and foremost, your life comes first before your enemy. Number two, in the endless world of Hashem, in the endless world of God, there is no baby. All of the souls started with Adam HaRishon, the first human being. All of the souls were in him. And after that, they were dispersed among the people that were born. But then the world restarted again with Noach and his family. And all of the souls kept reincarnating each time a person lived, but did not complete the mission that Hashem put them in this world to complete. Then they had to try it again. Unless they violated things so badly that Hashem destroyed them, or Hashem put them in a permanent punishment, like Gehenom, Kafakela, and so on. But many people don't understand that you're not here in this world for the first time. Nobody in the world is here for the first time. Only rarely does Hashem bring a new soul to the world that hasn't been here. But still it was in the original, but it was at Mount Sinai. But a new soul meaning that it's something that didn't go through the whole reincarnation after reincarnation and every generation or every few generations and so on. So a person has to understand that there is no baby. Yes, it's a baby physically. It's small before it becomes big. But the soul that's in that human being has been here for thousands of years, multiple times. And it's only here again because it failed in fulfilling the will of Hashem many times before. And therefore it has to come back again to do it. That's why when somebody told me, asked me a question about if they lend money to somebody and that person doesn't give it back to them, should they just forgive them, or should they keep chasing them after the money? And the answer is as follows. If you lend somebody some money, and we're not talking about huge amount of money where it's destroys your life and you have to go to lawyers and government and so on. We're talking about, let's just say, you have the habit of, let's say, giving $100, $200, whatever is small but still meaningful wherever you are in the world. And let's say you have somebody that you know, and you go back and forth, you give them $100, $200, and now this person doesn't pay you back. And you see that even when they have the money, they're not paying you back. And you see even when you ask for the money, they're not paying you back. What should you do? If you can't get the money back that way, after you've asked multiple times, and you see that the person does not intend to give you the money back, even when they have it, then you should forgive them. In so many words, give up on the money. And the reason why is because if you don't give up on the money, both you and that person will have to be reincarnated back into this world in order for them to pay you back the money. As we learned in many different examples, one of the famous examples is a story of the Baal Shem Tov that went to one of his students who was an owner of a horse ranch, had many horses, sold horses. And the Baal Shem Tov visited his student and told him, I want to buy a horse from you. He said, sure, Rabbi, you don't have to buy it, I'll give it to you for free. He goes, no, I want to buy it. Okay, Rabbi, whatever you want. And the rabbi looks and he points at one horse. And all of a sudden he sees his student's face become white. He says, oh, Rabbi, any other horse. I have hundreds of horses here. Any other horse but that one. I just have this horse for 6 months. He's such a good horse. He's such a good worker. I don't even have to tell him to work. He just wants to work nonstop. He's such a good horse. You could take all the multiple horses, just not that one. And the Baal Shem Tov says, no, I want only that one. And of course, the student says to the rabbi, okay, Rabbi, if that's the one you want, because you are who you are to me and I love you, you can buy it. The Baal Shem Tov gives him the money. He says, now it's mine, right? Yes, it's yours. He goes, you sure it's mine? Yes, it's mine. The horse becomes his. The moment after that transaction, the Baal Shem Tov says to his student, let me ask you something. Did you have a friend that recently died? He says, oh, yeah, Rabbi. I actually, just 6 months ago, I had a friend that died. He was a really good friend of mine. Knew him for over 20 years. He says, you like that friend? He goes, oh, I love that friend. He was a great friend. It really was sad for, that I lost him. He said, did he owe you any money? And the guy thinks for a moment. He goes, yeah, but it's nothing. He was a good friend of mine. Anyway, it wasn't even a lot of money. He only owed me $50. Says, so the Baal Shem Tov says to him, do you forgive him for that money that he owed you and died without paying you back? The guy says, yeah, of course I forgive him. I don't care. It's fine. I wish I had him. I don't care about the money. It's fine. Because say it. Say that you forgive him. Say machulecha. Machulecha, machulecha. You're forgiven, you're forgiven, you're forgiven. And the guy says, machulecha, machulecha, machulecha. And the moment he said the third machulecha, the horse that the Baal Shem Tov just bought drops dead. The guy's shocked. Whoa, what happened here? The Baal Shem Tov says, I saw Beruach HaKodesh that the neshama, the soul of your friend, had to reincarnate back into this world with a way to pay you back that $50. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His mercy put him into a horse so he can work for you until he earns the equivalent of $50. And now that you've forgiven him, you've helped him complete his tikkun. For a measly $50, a person had to come back as a horse. The first time I said this this story years ago, one of the people that watched this said, wow, that's really interesting. And she had a cat. And it was an unusual cat. And she did the same thing next to the cat. She went to the cat's ear and she said, machulecha, machulecha, machulecha. Says, as soon as I finished it, the cat got up, ran out, and got hit by a truck or a bus and died. Now, for those that are familiar, you probably have seen us when we talked about this before. We published it as a story years ago. Anyone that's interested in reading the story from the woman herself wrote it. You could just send me a message and I'll send it to you. But even more so, a person that has a hard time believing some of the stories, but at least knows that I don't make stuff up, you can know I did it. One time, I had a dog, a really good dog. I had him for 16 years. His name was Bully. And this dog was an amazing dog. Didn't have a mean bone in his body. And we went through a lot of ups and downs in life together. But I always knew that this dog was different. I had a dog when I was a kid. And I knew that this dog was different. Anytime I would have questions about things, I would ask Ephraim about it, of course. And I did it. I said to Bully, Machulecha, Machulecha, Machulecha. And the moment I told him that, he was perfectly healthy. He was strong. He could have lived another 50 years, at least the way he looked. But the next day, he was sitting on the couch, like he did often. And when he tried to get off the couch, like he did a million times before, he slipped and fell off the couch, which again, it's a regular couch. Bully, at one point when he was younger, he was in my car with me and I used to have him. He would sit in the front seat with me. He was in the passenger seat, I was in the driver's seat. And he liked to look out the window. And one time we were in the highway, and for whatever reason or another, we're driving fast. We're not driving 5 miles an hour. We're driving. Bully decides while I'm driving to jump out of the window. I had the leash in my hand, and I had the instant reflex to let it go. Because had I held it on, obviously, that would have been the worst thing. But I was sure that he died. And I was seeing him in the rear view mirror, that he's rolling and then get up like nothing happened. As if he was just jumping off of a couch. Another time a car hit him. I saw with my own eyes. Nothing happened. He was a very brave and healthy dog. So him getting off a couch, nothing. But that day, after I told him Machulecha, got off the couch, fell, and that was the end. Don't try this just because you want to experiment. It's not with every dog or every cat or every other animal. But the point I'm trying to tell you is that sometimes a person has to understand that things are beyond your comprehension. They're beyond your ability to understand. The world is much bigger than you can possibly imagine. So much so that the Chachamim say that if a person really was able to see all of the things that are actually next to him at every given moment, they would simply lose their mind. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not allow us to see everything that's really next to us, because it'll destroy our lives. The point being is, Rabotai, is that when it comes to seeing things like what Torah says, to destroy the enemy, even if it's women and children, and have no mercy, understand that the one that determined what mercy is, and what good is, and what bad is the same one that's writing what's in the Torah. And since he knows what good and bad is, what mercy is and what it's not, who deserves mercy and who does not, who deserves good and who does not, If he wrote it, then you can be sure that he is right, even if we don't understand. It's hard for me to see. Hold on. As a reflection, so it makes it hard to. Here we go. Is dat or religion mentioned in the Torah as we Jews are religion or following the Torah? It's one and the same. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the Torah at Mount Sinai, before Mount Sinai, there wasn't Judaism, there was idolatry in the world, and then there was the belief of the Israelites, which was in one God. Meaning that before Mount Sinai, there was either belief in one God by Yaakov Avinu, his descendants, and obviously all the Israelites, and then there was the rest of the world that were different forms of idolatry. Some served different idols that they made, some served the stars, the moon, and so on. But there wasn't an official religion. At Mount Sinai, we received the Torah, the written and the oral Torah. And the Torah is the book of instructions. That's what Torah means, is instructions of how to serve Hashem, how to fulfill your purpose. What is your purpose? And in essence, this entire book of laws, book of instructions, is how to live. How to live for your own benefit. This is when Judaism was born, at Mount Sinai. Because before that, we didn't have the obligation to follow the laws of the Torah. But the moment we received the Torah, we had the obligation of following the laws. So if you want to call those that religion, or you want to call it Torah, it's in essence synonymous. If you're following the Torah, you're following the religion. If you're violating the Torah, you're violating the religion. If you're religious, that means you're following the Torah. If you're not religious, that means you're ignoring or you're violating the Torah. So it's in essence one and the same. What does Machat mean? Machat, with the T, is a needle. Machat with a T is a needle. Echad is one. But Machat doesn't have it's not a word. Why is the word Elohim plural? Elohim can be plural, can be singular, but again, Hashem is not plural or singular. He's one. Either way, the word Elohim doesn't only mean God. It's the word Elohim in essence is closer to master. And so, for example, The Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah that you will be a Elohim to Paro. You will be a master, a ruler over Paro. Or in other times it says to Am Yisrael, part of the Ten Commandments, do not have other Elohim, meaning don't have other gods. Don't worship idols. There's also the word Elohim also is another name for different for angels. So Elohim is not the unique name for Hashem. The unique name for Hashem is the Tetragrammaton, which is the Yud Hey and the Nevav Hey. It's a 4-letter name. Okay. For the person that wrote the question in Portuguese, I'm sorry I don't speak Portuguese. If you could translate it and then copy and paste it and send it again, I could understand the question. When it comes to harvesting, that was done at the time of the Bet HaMikdash? How is that? Is it one? Oh, okay. So, question is, we learned that the 39 Melachot, the 39 things that we did to build the Bet HaMikdash are what we're forbidden from doing on Shabbat. So, for example, harvesting wheat, how is that, or different crops, how is that done at the time of the Bet HaMikdash? So first off, know that there was the Ketoret. The Ketoret, the incense offering, which actually I'll show you something really interesting. In our prayer every day, as Sephardi Jews, this is not done by most Ashkenazim. It's not their custom. But Sephardi Jews do the korbanot every day before we get to Amidah. And after, in Shachrit, it's both before and after. In Mincha, it's before. And the korbanot is a segment of the Torah. We read in Book of Exodus, chapter 3, verses 34 to 36, and then verses 7 and 8. And in there, this is the Hashem commanding Moshe Rabbeinu to make the Ketoret, the incense offering. And in there, it says this was obviously done in the Bet HaMikdash. This is one way that the 39 Melachot were used to make the Ketoret, but it's a Segulah that Chachamim have discussed extensively. The Ben Ish Chai has said it, and Rav Zavichi Shichyeh has probably a 800-page sefer discussing the Ketoret and the Ma'ala in the Ketoret. And the Ketoret is, you're saying, the 11 spices or incense parts of the Ketoret. There's the atzori, the balsam, atziporen, clove, chelbona, which is galbanum. Levona is frankincense. It's the mor, which is myrrh. The ktzia, which is cassia. Nerd, which is spikenard. Korkum, which is saffron. Kost, which is kostus. Kilufa is mushkat, nut bark, and cinnamon is cinnamon. So these are the spices that were part of the Ketoret. Now you're not allowed to combine them. That's the Isur Karet. But the Chachamim teach that it's a Segulah to have this and actually point at them. Point at each one. Atzori, and point at it. Atziporen, Chelbona, Alevona, Shivim Mane, Mor, Uktzia, Vishibolet Nerd, Vicharkom, Mishkat Shasar, Shasar Mane, Akos, Nemasar, Kilufa Shlosha, Kinamon Tisha. Each one is the part of the Korbanot. When we read the Ketoret, tell us the measure of each one, how much was made to make the incense offering. And the reason why I bought this, it was very expensive, is because there's a special Segulah for Parnassah and for many, many other good things to point at the actual incense offerings when you're saying them. Now, for people that don't have the ability to get something like this, then the Chachamim say that you should count it in your finger every time you say each one of the incense offerings. So Atzori, you put your hand. Atziporen, Achelbona, Alevona, Mishkal Shivim Mane, Mor, Uktzia, Vishibolet Nerd, Vicharkom, Mishkal Sar, Shasar Mane, Akos, Nemasar, Kilufa Shlosha, Kinamon Tisha. So it's 11 different spices that were made the Ketoret. Point being is that this is a very precious thing that I got in the last couple of years. Anyone that's interested in it, you could actually get it from the Living Torah Museum. Rav Deutsch sells this, but I'm sure you can get the ingredients I just mentioned on your own if you want. It'd probably be cheaper. It's just this was a very nice setup and eliminates confusion of which one is which, so you don't point at the wrong one. For me, it was very much a bargain to get something like this, and Baruch Hashem, I also got one for my dear Rav. But I'm not, I don't sell this. But the point is that there is a Segulah to point at them if you can, and if you can't because you don't have them, then it's to count them on your fingers as you're saying it. It's a very powerful Segulah for Parnassah, for a lot of other good things, Baruch Hashem. So one of the ways that the Melachot Shabbat were done were to harvest these incense offering. Another way is also to make the different things, to make the stones, to make the different things they needed. It wasn't like today where you have cement and the things that you have today. So in those days, they had to make everything on their own. Rabbi, what are the first steps to convert to Judaism? What's your advice on how to reach out to a Chabad rabbi to start learning? Okay, I'll answer the first question, the second question before the first. Chabad rabbis do not deal with conversions. Sometimes they accept somebody that wants to convert into their community, but they will not sponsor the person to conversion, even if they're there for 4 or 5 years. This is the general mentality of the majority of Chabad. Of course, there are rare cases here and there where a Chabad rabbi will sponsor somebody for conversion, but generally speaking, Chabad has this policy, this unspoken policy where they don't deal with converts. So to go try to convert while being part of a Chabad, you will find yourself where they may accept you to come, they may accept you to donate, they may even accept you to, to sit down with them and be there for 5 years. But they will not take you to the Bedin to actually convert. You will have to find a different rabbi to do that, and that simply just delays your conversion. So if you want to convert, you'll have to find a regular Orthodox synagogue to become part of and to have that rabbi convert you. The first question, as far as what's the first steps, conversion requires two main things. One is knowledge, two is life changes. Knowledge means you have to learn different things that are relevant to conversion. If you want to know what that is, you can go to our website, be'ezathashem.org. Over there, there's a section that's called Learning, and then under that tab, there's something called free PDFs or free ebooks. And one of those ebooks is a conversion guide. That's a guide after dealing with conversions and helping many, many people convert, Baruch Hashem, over the years. We made many lectures about it and discussed it often. So we made a guide where this information that's there is everything you need to know about conversion. So you just open the guide, you click, each thing that you click on, it opens up either a video or a recommended book to buy that you'll need to know for conversion. It tells you the subject that you'll need to know, and that conversion guide is, in essence, will help you attain that knowledge. Of course, you have to study. There are some people that give, some rabbis that give, and some regular people that give online courses or face-to-face courses with conversion. Some people have a good experience with it. Some people don't. It's certainly not cheap, but either way, you'll need to learn it. If you can learn it on your own, that's one way. If you could afford to have somebody teach you, that's another way. But either way, there's no obligation to take a course. You can learn everything on your own. But many people prefer to have somebody go over with them, at least some of the material. Now, as far as the knowledge, that's how you attain the knowledge. The life changes are, well, you have to start fulfilling that knowledge, which means that you will need to move to a Jewish community. So if you live in the U.S., you'll need to move to a place where there's a Jewish community with a bedin, whether it's in Los Angeles or it's in New York City, or it's in Florida or in other places in the U.S. that have Jewish communities with a bedin, or in Israel or in Australia or in London. Different places around the world have it. There's not that many Bate Din in the world. But certainly there are options. You'll need to move to a Jewish community. You'll need to develop a relationship with the local rabbi to you at that time. Let them know, obviously, your intentions to convert and so on. And if they're willing and able, they'll guide you until you're ready, and you'll be able to convert. It's a process. It takes time. And, it's not something that's done overnight. We're not the Christianity where all you need to do is just dip in some water and that you become Christian, or in Islam where you just say a few words, you become Muslim. That's not how Jewish conversion works. It's a process. In essence, the whole goal of the Bedin, the Jewish court, and the sponsoring rabbi, all the people that are involved with, helping people convert, is to make sure that the people that are converting are able and willing to live a Jewish life after conversion. Many people are very excited about the idea of converting, but then once they see what it is, they realize it's much more difficult than they thought, and some people, choose not to convert. Many people continue, and many people don't. But either way, it requires two things. One of them is the knowledge, and the other one is the life changes. And even that, I discuss in our conversion guide that I mentioned to you, one of the videos. It talks about how it's a process. It's not like first things first. It's a process. You do both of them simultaneously. Most people start studying before they move. When they don't live in a Jewish community already. Knowledge of Hebrew is not required for conversion, no. In my city in Brazil, I only know Chabad synagogue, and I go there for about 20 years for now to buy some kosher food, and I try to talk about conversion, but no success. You will never have success, not in Chabad or in Brazil. Not that I'm cursing you, chas v'shalom, but rather because of you have two things pinned against you. Number one, Chabad in general, worldwide, does not deal with conversion. Does not deal with conversion, even if you've gone there for 100 years. And number two, there is no conversion in the entire country of Brazil and many countries in South America. There's no conversions there. There's no bedin to convert people. You need a bedin. You need a Jewish court to convert people, and they don't exist in Brazil and other places as a result of many different things that happened in the past. But the leaders chose many years ago not to have any conversion courts in many of those countries. So you'll have to move to a different country in order to convert. Rabbi, as someone that's currently in Shidduchim, what should I keep in mind? And how much should I focus on looks? In a lecture that I made 2 years ago in Hoshana Rabbah, there was a whole segment that I talked about Shidduchim. That's very, very important and very comprehensive. I highly recommend watching that. I believe our team made a clip out of that very long lecture, and it's on the Rabbi Yaron Reuven Shorts channel. If you go to the Rabbi Yaron Reuven Shorts channel, it's a fantastic, amazing channel where every day our amazing team makes a new clip that they cut out of my longer lectures, and they add some bells and whistles to it, make it just amazing, and they really, really exceptional job. And over there, first of all, everyone should subscribe to that channel because it's just amazing. Second of all, if you guys notice and you follow us in different channels on the different languages, in French, in Spanish, in Chinese, Arabic, and Russian, all the other languages that we have, you will notice that all of those channels get their new clips that are published every day. They get from that channel, from that shorts channel that I mentioned. That's how good it is. We literally rely on it. It's just extraordinary work, and big yeshar koach to the one main person that's behind it. And I have no doubt in my mind that Hashem will bless him endlessly in this world and the next for what he's doing. And so everyone should subscribe to it. It's just amazing. That's number one. I think that's even more important question. Second, in there you'll find, if you go to that channel, you just write the word conversion, or you'll write the word shidduchim or shidduch. You'll see that clip that I'm talking about. So that's one. Second thing is, in regards to shidduchim, the mindset that you're supposed to have is, first of all, you need to know what you're looking for. You need to know what you're looking for. If you're looking to build a holy Jewish home and you're going to be learning Torah, and then obviously going to be relying on your wife for parnasah, then you have to look for somebody that wants the same thing. If you're going to be working and learning after work or before work or both, then you need to look for a wife like that, which is obviously the majority of people are like that. You also have to look to decide whether you want your wife to work or not. Why? Because if you don't want your wife to work and you want your wife to, focus on raising the kids, then don't date a woman that's a career-minded, that wants to be a lawyer or a doctor or some type of architect, because you're going to have a problem. Even if you like each other, you're going to have a problem. Why? Because she has a certain mindset that's her goal in life. So already know from the beginning what you're looking for and determine who you select based on that. Second thing is ideology. You have to find someone that has a similar ideology to you. If you want to live a religious life, don't even bother dating non-religious girls or girls that are too modern, where they may observe Shabbat, but they don't observe modesty, or they don't observe kosher, or they don't observe some of the other foundational rules. Another thing, I had one of my students ask me about just recently. He was on a shidduch, and and they went on several dates, and then the girl told him that she doesn't think that the husband should be the top priority all the time. Sometimes her friends should be more important than the husband. And so this is a red flag. Why? Because this means that this woman is not really ready to be a wife. She's not really ready to be a wife. She wants to, she wants to have somebody, but she still wants to live the single life. So if you want to build a holy Jewish home, this is not somebody that you should be dating or marrying. Why? Because you're going to have a wife that's, you're going to come home waiting to see your wife, to eat, to drink, to communicate with, to socialize with, and she's not home. Why? She's out with her friends, she's having a drink at some bar, or she's having a coffee, or whatever it is. If you don't want to marry a socialite, then you should already know that ahead of time. And this is something that you can discover pretty quickly. Usually women that are career focused are more open to that type of socialization. It's not necessarily every woman that's career minded, but it's very common among them, especially today in society. So you need to know what you're looking for. As far as looks are concerned, the Gemara itself says that if a man wants to get married, he has to compromise. Meaning that if you're going to look for a woman that looks exactly like your dreams, then either you are going to stay dreaming and never get married, or you're going to be very, very miserable, because you'll find a woman that looks exactly like your dreams, but the rest of her is not going to be like your good dreams, more like your nightmares. So if a person wants to get married, they have to compromise and not look for Mrs. Perfect. I'm not saying look for a person with deformities or anything, but the main thing you should be looking for is the ideology and to have the same goals in life. So even if she's not, a 10 on your list, that's okay, because neither are you. The third thing I would say is for people to be realistic, especially for guys that are very into the looks, and all of them want, all of their fantasies and desires and lusts fulfilled. First of all, that's not good for you. Because if she is that beautiful, that means everyone thinks that she's that beautiful, and everyone's going to think about her, look at her, and it makes it very, very difficult for marriage, and also, not very good for someone who doesn't want to get married multiple times, if you understand what I mean. The second thing is that when it comes to marrying somebody, you have to understand that the ideology of the person is much more important than their looks, because the looks do not stay. People age, people get pregnant, people go through different things. So a person that invests everything into looks is going to live a very disappointing life, because she's not going to stay 20 forever. And if you have a horrible mentality and a horrible personality that's combined with beautiful looks, that means you're going to suffer your whole life, because the looks will disappear over time, or at least deteriorate over time. But the horrible personality will continue to worsen. The third thing, or next thing on the list that I would say, is for people to be realistic. This is very important, especially for guys that are very focused on looks. Before you determine that you are only going to accept someone that's a 10 on your scale of looks, or 8 or 7, or whatever number you think is your where you want, I would highly recommend to, don't tell anybody I said this, highly recommend to look in the mirror. Did you hear that? Look in the mirror. Why am I whispering? Look in the mirror. Why? You're not a 10. You're not a 10. Stop living in fantasy land thinking that you deserve a 10. Stop it. You got these guys that literally, sometimes it's a little bit, you need glasses to identify whether it's a human or not, but they think that they deserve Malkat Yofi. Like, stop it. Stop it with the fantasy. Stop it with the lust. Stop it with the garbage. People, I know people that they ask me for shidduchim, help. I don't deal with shidduchim, and there's a reason for that. It's not because I don't want to help people. It's because people, in most cases, are unhelpable. Why? They're too picky. People are so picky, and it makes me so sick to my stomach how picky people are, that we actually have a song on our Teshuva music about how people are picky. I spoke about this many times over the years, and they made even a song about it. I see people, they come to me, they're 35 years old, and he still wants somebody that fits his description. She has to be, no older than 25. She has to look like this. She has to look like that. Habibi, you're 35 years old. You're 2 steps away from becoming a grandfather already. What are we talking about? Whoever was even willing to look at you, marry them. But they don't think so. They think that, no, they know better. And before you know it, they're 40 and they're not married. And they're 45 and they're not married. And they're 50 and they're not married. And of course, they sin the whole way there. And even if they hold themselves for a year or 2 years, eventually they sin, whether it's with this or whether it's with that. I don't have to describe to you guys how people sin because I'm sure everyone knows. The point being is people live a deluded life because of their ego, because they feel they're megalomaniacs. They're megalomaniacs that think that they are better looking than what they really are. They feel like they deserve more than what they really are. They're entitled to more than what they really are. And they're single for much longer than they thought that they were. So, Chachamim say in the Gemara, and many Chachamim talked about it over the years, if you want to get married and build a Jewish home, already know, before you even met the girl, before you even looked at his shidduch resume, you will have to compromise. If you want to get married to a woman that you're going to stay married to. But if you are specific and you are, everything has to be perfect when it comes to physicality or financials or things like that, unfortunately, you are more likely to live a very, very sad and miserable life than you are to be happily married. So, I suggest you listen to the Chachamim and choose wisely. Rabbi, your people have committed atrocities. Don't you think this is a more important topic? My people have committed the best things for society throughout all of history. In fact, you could do an easy Google search and just type in, what did the Jewish people contribute to society throughout history? We contributed religion. Before that, there was just idolatry. People praying to statues and motorcycles and rats, which some people still do in India. So we contributed religion, monotheism. Number 2, morality, based on God. Number 3, most of the commerce that you see in the world today, behind it, were Jewish people, and still are Jewish people. Whether it's technology that you see today, for example, the phone that you're using or the computer that you're using, the microchips, the semiconductors, was developed by our people, Jewish people. Most of the technology that you use today comes from Jewish people. The country with the highest per capita amount of people that have won the Nobel Prize are the Jewish people. It's Jewish people. say if you compare, for example, the amount of Jewish people that have won, the Jewish people have won more than 25% of all the Nobel Prizes in history. Even though we have less than 20 million Jews in the world, more than 25% of all the Nobel Prizes were won by Jews. If that was, let's say if you compare that to the amount of Muslim people that are in the world, about 2.5 billion or so, literally you would need a few 100 million people to win the Nobel Prize winners, which there haven't even been that many. So the point is that the biggest geniuses development in the world has come from the Jewish people, whether it's for technology or it's the science or it's the world, the arts. It's pretty much in every part of society you will see Jewish people behind it. So to say we've committed atrocities, if you mean the advancement of society and good for society, if you, in your world, equate that to atrocities, then yes, we've committed many atrocities. But if you are like most people, civilized people in the world, non-terrorists, then we don't usually call that atrocities. We call that contribution of good to the world. And you're welcome. No, stop with the thank yous. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. I understand. No, stop. Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. Oh, you didn't know? Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Said okay. I understand. I understand you love us now. Okay. Thank you. Enough with the thank yous. Ooh, thank yous. So much thank yous. Rabbi, do you speak Yiddish? Or can you speak Yiddish? No, I don't speak Yiddish. I speak Hebrew or English. I was born in Israel, and there we speak Hebrew. I'm Sephardi, so most Sephardi Jews do not speak Yiddish. Ashkenazi Jews, many of them speak Yiddish, but I don't. Rabbi, I'm a Noahide. Should I not eat pork? That's not a matter for Noahides. As far as whether you're allowed to eat pork, yeah, you're allowed to eat pork as a non-Jew. There's no problem of you eating pork or eating a monkey or eating a frog. Just don't eat them while they're alive. As far as health reasons, no, you should not eat pork. It's not good for you. Okay, so the Jews discovered a lot of things in technology in the past. What are they doing now? Okay. What are they doing now? Okay, so currently the number one most valuable company in the world today is a company called NVIDIA. You may have their product in your phone, in your computer as we speak, or if you're using AI, certainly you're relying on their product. Now, NVIDIA happens to have a lot of money, happens to have a lot of choices, but the vast majority of all of their profits that they have today, all of their revenues they have today, were as a result of the work that their Israeli department, located in Israel, discovered and developed. And that's why they are building a whole new headquarters in Israel, a whole new huge place in Israel. They're determining which city to go to. There's a race between the different cities, whether it's the same one they already have it in or a different one. But everybody obviously wants them to be there. It creates jobs, it creates momentum, and so on. But NVIDIA is investing a whole lot more into Israel, because if it wasn't for their Israeli department, NVIDIA would not be NVIDIA. And like I said, they are the most valuable company in the world today. And if you know anything about the markets or economy or technology or really anything, you should know about NVIDIA. And you could check everything I just said. You'll be very, very disappointed that your anti-Semitic questions did not pan out. Furthermore, it's not just NVIDIA that's investing more in Israel. Intel is investing more in Israel for the same exact reason. And other major corporations are investing more and more in Israel specifically because even though you can find Jews all over the world, there's a special blessing for those that live in Israel, apparently, because the discoveries that they make over there in the technological, scientific world, physics, every field is beyond comprehension. Per capita, like if you look at the statistics of what gets developed in Israel, produced, it doesn't make any sense because it's such a small little country with so few people in comparison. It's smaller than most of the U.S. states. But yet, more is produced in Israel than anywhere else in the world per capita. And in fact, more is produced in Israel than anywhere in the world, with the exception of a few major countries like America and China, that even are not per capita. A few other countries, obviously, but more meaning that there's an enormous amount of good that's coming from Israel. That's why when people say, "Oh, listen, America is funding Israel, gives them," what do you think? America is doing it for free? All of the weapons that America produces, many of them get a little bit of upgrades from Israel. A lot of the things that you see that are protecting Americans today are due to Israel. And there's a lot of other benefits that America gets from Israel that are much, much more valuable than the few shekels they send. But needless to say, it's good to have allies, it's good to have partnerships, but the vast majority of the world, and needless to say, the anti-Semitics around the world, do not understand how much they themselves rely on what comes out of Israel. They themselves rely on what comes out from the Jewish world. It's unprecedented. Just do some research on the people that you hate. What have they developed throughout history? What are they developing now? The medicine that you're taking most likely was developed by them. The best doctor in town most likely is one of them. The phone you're using, by them. The semiconductors, by them. The software, by them. You're using Google, by them. The Jews, it's everywhere. So you say, oh, they control the world? We don't, but our God does. And he chose to make us special. Does that mean that there isn't special people that are non-Jews? No, there's plenty of them. There's plenty of non-Jews that are very good, that are very, very nice, and that produce good for the world. But if you compare per capita of how much the Jews, relevant to the number of Jews, and how much they've contributed to society, every intelligent person sees this is literally the blessing that's in our parasha, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised Avraham. Those that will bless you will be blessed. Those who will curse you will be cursed. Every country that has allowed the Jews to live there freely for at least a period of time was blessed tremendously. Egypt blessed tremendously until they turned us into slaves, and then they were destroyed. Babylon blessed tremendously until they decided to torment us, and Hashem destroyed them. Spain blessed tremendously until they had the Spanish Inquisition, and then now most people don't even know that Spain exists still. Greece, had a blessing for a period of time until they don't. Turkey, Morocco, Russia, all of these countries, if you look at the times that the Jews lived there peacefully, those countries were blessed tremendously. When they kicked out the Jews, the blessing left with the Jews. So America has extraordinary blessing over the last 100 years. Before 100 years ago, America was not the most powerful country in the world. It simply was not. In fact, it was considered insignificant in the world. What happened 100 years ago, approximately? They allowed the Jews to live here freely. And so long as they do, they'll continue being blessed. Why? The blessing comes in the package. So as much as people like to complain about the Jews, really we should be getting thank you notes. Thank you notes. Thank you, I love you. Thank you, I love you. Thank you, I love you. I'll take a thank you too. No problem. Thank you for the blessings. Thank you. Toda Rabba. Shem v'arech atrem b'kol mikol kol. Taiwan and China does way more. I'm sorry, buddy. You are mistaken. Per capita. Per capita. Do you know what per capita means? Go online. Want me to spell it for you? You can do a spell check. It'll help you. Most likely you don't understand what per capita means. Did you go to school? School. S-C-H-O-O-L. School. Yeah. TikTok is not a school. YouTube is not a school. No. Tomorrow is my tefillin. I was wondering if you have any help to do it. If you mean tomorrow is your bar mitzvah and the first time you're going to put on tefillin. You should have gotten somebody to teach you how to put them on. If you did already that, a few things you need to know about tefillin. Number one, anytime you have tefillin on, you're not allowed to speak mundane things. You can pray and you can learn Torah with your tefillin on. Other than that, you're not allowed to do anything else. You're not allowed to socialize, ask about the weather, ask about the game, ask about the stock market. I know that you probably see some people do that in your synagogue, but they're making a sin. The Gemara in Masechet Shabbat talks very, very harshly about people that speak mundane things while wearing tefillin. Just imagine a tefillin is a one-way call to Hashem. That's in essence, you're connecting yourself with the Shekhinah. So long as you have tefillin, no mundane conversations. That's the second thing. Third thing is, it's good to, after you finish praying, it's good to study Torah while you have tefillin on whenever you can. It's not an obligation, but it's good to do it if you can. That's another thing. Third thing is, respect them and treat them with respect, meaning that not just don't put them on the floor or drop them on the floor, but treat them carefully. Get yourself a very nice bag to protect them when you put them on. Do it slowly and with care and respect. Don't treat them like people treat sports equipment. It's very, very important to treat the tefillin well. Another thing is, make sure that you got your tefillin from a reliable sofer or merchant of tefillin, and not just someone that sells it. It needs to be a reliable person that's an Orthodox Jew that has Yirat Shamayim, because unfortunately sometimes people buy tefillin based on the cheapest price, and they end up finding out years later when they check the tefillin that there's no tefillin in there. It's just a box. Like a video that we published a few months ago where somebody bought tefillin, and 2 years later, he decided to go check his tefillin, and on camera, they're opening the tefillin. Even before you open the tefillin, the sofer tells them that the tefillin are not kosher based on certain things of how the tefillin were made. They were glued instead of sewed. But nonetheless, as soon as they open a tefillin, even a blind person would be disappointed at the disaster that happened there. What happened? They found out that there's no tefillin. There's no scroll inside, just a piece of leather. So the guy has been putting on tefillin with a blessing every single day for 2 years, and every single time he did it, there was a sin. He was saying Hashem's name in vain. 2 years he didn't put on tefillin. Why? Because he bought it for the cheapest price and ended up being nothing. He bought nothing. Free was too expensive for that piece of garbage that he was sold. So a good pair of tefillin is not going to be cheap. And also tefillin prices have pretty much almost doubled in the last 10 years or so. We sell tefillin on our website. I remember where we were able to get tefillin for $400 or $500, a decent pair of tefillin. It wasn't the best, but it was a good pair of tefillin, $400 or $500. Today, you can't get anything for even close to that. A good pair of tefillin is not going to cost you less than $1,500. $1,500, $1,600 for a decent one. A really good one, $2,000, $3,000. It's going to be much more. If you're Ashkenazi, $3,000, $4,000. It's much, much more expensive. Much, much more expensive. There's, number one, inflation. Number two, there is less people doing it. There's also more technology that is sometimes utilized to make it better quality, whether it's the leather or to the monitoring the sofer, all types of things that they utilize to make it better and better. Point is that if you want to get a good pair of tefillin, be ready to spend a couple of $1,000 or more or less. If you bought your tefillin for less than $1,000, if you could still get your money back, get it back. I had somebody that, I don't know, maybe a year ago, he asked me about tefillin, and I told him you go on the website and buy it at $1,600. I think that's what it was at the time. I think it still is, for at least the Rashi Sephardi one. The Ashkenazi is much more expensive. That's because that's just the way it is. Rabbeinu Tam is a little more expensive also. But nonetheless, whatever. These are very, very good tefillin that if you find the same tefillin anywhere else, you probably spend almost $3,000 for them. So, but anyway, I told him this is what it is. He goes, no, it's too expensive, and this is a person that has money. It's too expensive. This other person is selling me tefillin for $900, but I want to buy it from you. Can you sell for $900? I'm sorry. This is not like for business. I'm doing it more for, courtesy and to help people. Sometimes we end up losing money on these things. Like, for example, mezuzot, the standard mezuzot, we're contemplating whether to stop doing it or not because it's losing money. The sofrim need more, and it costs more, and we bring them from Israel, which is costing more with all of the different added costs over the last few years. But whatever. For now, we're continuing, but most likely we'll stop the standard mezuzot and only focus on the really high-end ones because at least there we won't be able to, we'll be able to keep there's not that many orders of that, number one, and it's not going to be a loss. Anyway, the tefillin, the guy asked for tefillin. He wanted me to sell it for less. I said, I'm sorry, I can't lose money. It's an organization. It's not like my personal piggy bank. Especially since I know that the guy can afford it. Anyway, he decided to buy tefillin from the guy that sold it to him for $900. I said, well, do what you want. It's your money. It's your life. Do what you want. He comes back literally a day after he bought it. He starts asking me questions about his tefillin. Why are you asking me tefillin that you bought from somebody else? He asks me questions. He shows me pictures. Things don't, you can't really tell 100% from pictures, but they don't really look so kosher. Oh, maybe you want to check, maybe this, maybe that. Long story short, 6 months later, he realizes that he was better off taking the $900 and putting it through a shredder. You know a shredder? How it cuts up any paper into 50 million pieces? He was better off doing that because at least he'll have the entertainment of watching something get cut up. It's a little bit, what do they call it? Satisfying. Satisfying. Why? Because for the last 6 months, he was simply not putting on tefillin while he thinks he's putting on tefillin. He thought he was saving money, ended up having to spend much more. It is what it is. But so don't try to save money when it comes to pairing tefillin. Try to find somebody that sells good quality tefillin that's reliable. Cheap things are often much more expensive. You're right, 100%. Are return certificates obtainable if I'm living in Mexico? Can I obtain my teuda if I obtain a rabbi as my sponsor and not being excluded? I'm sorry, I don't really know. If you mean, can you convert in one country, go back to your old country? Usually not. Usually the Bet Din is going to want you to live in the place that they're converting you. They're not going to convert you just for coming to a trip to Israel and convert you and then you go back to Mexico or wherever it is. Usually no. It's very rare. It's frowned upon by the Rabbanut for anyone to do that. If I'm not a minyan, I was taught to say El Melech Ne'eman before reciting Shema Yisrael in the morning services while wearing tefillin. Is this correct? You don't have an obligation to say El Melech Ne'eman, but you can if you want to. I mean, usually if you're praying at home or in synagogue, you're supposed to pray the entire Shachrit, which, so you have some prayers before the Shema. And there's no El Melech Ne'eman before it. I mean, usually when you teach children to just say the Shema Yisrael, for example, either before going to bed or in the morning, because, obviously they're not going to pray the entire Shachrit. Usually then you teach them to say El Melech Ne'eman Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokim. That's why I've taught my kids. It's very good to do, but for an adult, you should be praying what's in the Siddur. But even if you pray with Siddur, if you want to say El Melech Ne'eman, you can. There's nothing wrong with it, but don't replace what's in the Siddur with El Melech Ne'eman as if it's the same. It's not. You have to do more. No, a non-Jew is allowed to eat any meat that he wants as long as it's not a living animal. Meaning, don't chop the leg off the horse or the cow while it's still alive. But once the cow or the dog or the horse or whatever meat you want to eat is dead, you can eat the whole thing. As a Noahide, you can eat the whole thing. You don't have to worry about kashrut. As a Jew, you're only allowed to eat kosher meat, and you have different restrictions. I like sardines and anchovies. Enjoy. Eat sardines, eat anchovies, no problem. Sardines are even kosher. So is salmon. I've admired certain Rav who has helped me throughout the years to come back in Teshuva and closer to Hashem. Recently was surfaced this Rav who once inspired me had fallen in sin of Arayot. This news hit me hard and has me questioning a lot of things and has been hard for me to digest. I need your advice. Well, it depends. What do you mean the person has fell? I mean, did you see it? Is there witnesses to it? If you're simply saying that somebody says that this rabbi did something wrong and you believe it, then not only are you sinning by believing it, but you haven't done tshuva yet and you need to do tshuva. Because first and foremost, in order for something to be proven that it happened, there has to be witnesses to it. One witness doesn't count as anything. In fact, it's a sin for a person to come to the Beit Din, for example, say this person did this without witnesses. It's considered lashon hara or motzi shem ra, depending on whether if they're telling you the truth, it's lashon hara. If they're lying, then it's motzi shem ra, which both of them are big sins that bring destruction to that person's life, and actually all of their merits go to the person they're saying lashon hara about. Furthermore, the people that listen to it or watch a video of somebody saying these things, they're all sinning. If they believe this, even hearing it is a problem. But needless to say, if they believe it, it's a sin. It's a sin from the Torah. They'll get punished for it. So it's asur to believe such a thing. And I think that in today's world, it's very easy not to believe because most things out there are fake. Most things out there are fake. So as far as if you're saying that this rabbi you have, you heard bad things about him, number one, how did you hear it? Did you see it? Is there any confirmation that this actually happened from multiple witnesses, or is it just hearsay? Is even the hearsay coming from a valid person? Meaning that this person is this person even be a witness? That's number one. The second thing is that even if a person made a mistake in their life, let's just say your example of arayot, that does not negate everything that they've ever done. People have made mistakes. People will make mistakes. You make mistakes. And most people forget to look at themselves in the mirror. And en adam roeh chova be'atzmo. People are very easy to judge. They judge harshly everybody else, but lightly themselves. And it's a very horrible trait that comes from arrogance, where they'll, for example, me, people that I've helped over the years. The moment that, Baruch Hashem, many of them are good, but many people that I've invested a lot of time and effort, and even in some cases money, to help them in different things, many people are not only ungrateful people and terrible people, but it all starts with, people that judge harshly, where they heard me say something in a shiur that they either misunderstood or simply didn't like. And from that moment on, all of the years that I've helped them, all of the years that I taught them, all of the years that I've invested into these people, all of that went to complete garbage. And they turned me, in some cases, into their enemy. I'll even give you an example. I'll even give you guys an example. There's always so many real-life examples that why even give hypothetical? There was a family that wanted to convert. And they wanted my help. They were learning all my lectures. They attended many of my lectures. And they were nice people. And, I tried to do whatever I can to help them, and they needed a lot more help than the typical people did. There's a lot of issues, a lot of family problems, a lot of whatever. Long story short, if I invest, let's say, an average of, let's say, 1 hour into, let's say, a family, in this family I invested 5. Okay, just so you understand how much more I invested into this family in a lot of different ways. Nonetheless, I know it's free. If somebody wants to donate, they could donate on their own, but it's never like a charge. Nobody ever gets a bill from me or anything like that for the time that I invest into them. So anyway, and this is people that wanted to convert. These are not even Jews yet. Okay, so anyway, they wanted to convert, but I told them that, there's certain requirements that they were not meeting the requirements, and I can't sponsor them until that changes. It was a main problem was with the husband. The husband didn't really want to live a Jewish life. So that's a requirement. You can't stay married, and if the husband doesn't want to live a Jewish life and doesn't have a job that is conducive to a Jewish life. So until that changes, I can't sponsor you. So they decided, okay, let me ask another rabbi. And then they would have the other rabbi call me. So I told him, listen, if you want somebody else to convert you, bechavod, go to somebody else. If you want me to convert you, I'm not going to do it because you have to meet halacha. It's not. Long story short, after all the years that I invested with this family and the resources, and even invited this family to my house, which is many thousands and tens of thousands of people that I've spoken to, helped, and communicate with, and so on, very, very few people have come to my house. Very few. This one came to my house multiple times. And they decided to go to rabbis and start bad-mouthing me. And if that wasn't enough, after the rabbis called me, asked me about it, I said, what are you talking about? I could give you, proof of all. He goes, no, we don't think anything about it. You just want to know. Okay. Then they took it a step further. They went to a different rabbi that hated me, and apparently he brought them to a bed din, and at the bed din, they invented a whole bunch of lies. They said I stole $40,000 from them, that I did this, like literally invented lies that I don't even think terrorists do what they said. They invented every lie under the sun, like literally tried to destroy anything that's remotely good that I've done over the years, for no reason, just to look favorable in that bed din's eyes. That's it. And of course, this got back to me. Then they tried to do it with another place, because that place didn't convert them. Anyway, they just heard the lashon hara, and the person that didn't like me over there enjoyed it, publicized it. He felt like there was ammunition for him. Then they didn't even, they went to a bed din that I'm very familiar with and I've worked with and that know me well. And they did the same exact thing over there. And Baruch Hashem, the tzaddikim at the bed din know me. They contacted me and said, we don't believe anything they said, but I just want you to know this is happening. I said, I already know because they did it somewhere else. And I told them the whole real story of what happened. And I said, listen, we won't convert them even if they pay us $1 million. I said, you shouldn't, based on what these people are doing. So long story short, after they did all this, they thought that if they destroy my name with different rabbis, with different places, it will raise them up in total poll. It ended up not doing anything good for them. In fact, only bad things happened to them after that. And the best part about it is that after, I don't know, however much time it was, 6 months, a year later, they tried to contact me again. Oh, we're sorry. Can you still be our rabbi? I said to them, okay, once you fix what you've done, all of the lashon hara that you spread, all of the, the lies, and that you made people think that I stole money or I took money from you or anything, go fix that first, then come and say I'm sorry. You say I'm sorry means nothing. You say I'm sorry means nothing. Go fix what you did. I did everything I did for free. And you made literally lies that were destructive and disgusting. So, I could charge for everything I do. I don't have to, but I can. There's no problem. People will pay. People pay. Other people don't even do 10% of what I do. So they said, please, can you, no, go fix it. Anyway, they obviously didn't want to fix it because that will bring them embarrassment for being liars. And guess what? All of the people that told them that they will help them if they speak bad about me, all of the people that told them that they will be there for them if they speak bad about me and they go against me, because guess what? All of those people ended up being bad to them, ended up taking advantage of them. They realized that what they did to others, they tried to do to me is being done to them, and even worse. And they realized that they made a mistake of a lifetime. And if you're going to ask me, can you forgive them? No. Until they fix what they did. They can't fix it? Okay. Not my problem. You can't just try to destroy somebody, try to kill somebody like Ishmael, tried to kill Yitzchak, but then he missed. He said, no, I was just playing. No, it doesn't work that way. So when it comes down to people, unfortunately, many people are ungrateful, many people are not nice, but there are some nice ones. But so when it comes down to this rabbi of yours that you say somebody told you he did something bad, number one, I told you have to check if the source of information that you have is a valid source according to halacha. Because if it's not, you are making a sin. You are trusting a criminal that's publicizing something that's not allowed to be publicized, because that's not the way that halacha works. You can't just be a single witness. Unless it's like something like pedophilia or rape or something like that, which I'm assuming that's not what you're talking about. So number one, you have to check whether that, because if not, you are a sinner and you're relying on a sinner. Number two, you're being ungrateful. And number three, it doesn't seem like one thing has to do with the other. If somebody told you what Torah said for many years, and let's just say you found out that they stole $1 million, or let's say you found out that, I don't know, it's whatever they did. One thing doesn't negate the other. It's not. I think people are very, very harsh and very ungrateful, and quite frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself. Last thing I would say about this is this: do you judge yourself the same way? Like, would you give up on yourself if you did the same thing? So how do you judge somebody that helped you, somebody that in essence is partner to creating you? Because before you did tshuva, you were considered dead. So after this rabbi helped you do tshuva, in essence he became partners with Hashem. That's what the sages say. He became partners with Hashem with creating you. How can you even dare thinking that you can judge, that you're in a position of judging anybody? It's bizarre to me that people think that way. And quite frankly, I don't know. I would say, was your gratitude over the last, I don't know, however many years you've been benefiting from this rabbi, was your gratitude as great as your criticism is? I bet you if you check the facts, for sure you're making a mistake. And judging this rabbi harshly, and judging it all, irrelevant of the circumstance. Because there is halacha for everything. There is halacha for everything. And we can't just decide that we're going to use our logic instead of halacha. It doesn't work that way. If a person wants to do that, pick a different religion. Can Hashem take away my arthritis away? Sure, why not? He created the whole world. How does the rabbi make money? How do you make money? Same way you make money, I make money. Now you're going to tell me, no, I make money because I work in construction. Okay, I work for Hashem. I make money. Hashem gives you money through your construction. Hashem gives me money through working for Him. Is it good to live in Aventura, Florida? I don't live there, so I can't tell you if it's good to live there or not good to live there, but I know there's a lot of Jews that live there, and there's several synagogues there. I've been at a few of them. I gave a lecture, I think, at a couple of them, so yeah, there's definitely good there. As far as living, it depends what you're looking for, it depends what you want. Oh, how did they say that I stole the $40,000? I have no idea. They just said I stole $40,000 from them. No idea. They just invented things. They invented a story. And I tell you, actually, the funniest thing, not really funny, it was not funny at the time. The worst part about it, the guy that spearheaded this whole thing was a Jew, a miserable Jew, that wanted his son, that no one wants to marry this non-Jewish girl. He wanted her to convert, so when he came to me, when the guy came to me, the Shah Merusha that he is, he asked me, how come you don't convert her? I'm like, well, they're not ready. No, but I think they're ready. I'm like, listen, I understand you want him to marry your son, which it's none of my business, but I'm not going to convert somebody just because you want to marry them. It doesn't work that way. So this guy is actually the guy that also helped influence them to the bad. They're still 100% guilty, just because somebody else was involved doesn't mean anything. Everybody's responsible for themselves. They're adults. But there was a guy. There's always some rasha that's behind the scenes. It's always. But it is what it is, guys. It is what it is. As far as the story I told you right now, I can give you a dime a dozen of stories of ungrateful people that do bad things to us. We suffer a lot from people. Quite frankly, the only thing I suffer from is from people. But we don't work for people. We work for Hashem. We help people because that's what we need to do. We try to help people. If people want to be ungrateful, it's their problem, not mine. My question is work for Hashem and make money. But Chabad does fundraiser. Rabbi gives lecture for free. You're not understanding the answer. No matter what you do, Hashem will send each person their parnasah. The Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, page 16. Masechet Beitzah, also 16. Just one is 16a, the other one is 16b. Says that on Rosh Hashanah, Kadosh Baruch Hu decides how much money you're going to get, how much you're going to make, how much you're going to lose. He decides all of that on Rosh Hashanah, whether a person's going to live, die, and so on. So the Gemara specifies that the money that Hashem decides how much you're going to get on Rosh Hashanah is irrelevant or irrespective of your profession, your age, your color, doesn't make a difference. Doesn't make a difference what you do for a living. Meaning that you could either be a guy that sells cups like this, from hotel to hotel, or you could be a guy that sells books like this. Probably you don't want to sell this one. It's mine. You can't really sell it, and it's also very precious and beautiful. But most likely people want something new anyway. Or you can be a guy that's a hedge fund manager, or you can be a guy that is a lawyer, or you can be a guy that's a criminal, whatever you are. Hashem decides how much money you're going to make, you're going to lose. So you, in essence, work in your profession, and therefore that is one of the vessels that Hashem can give you the parnasah. But it doesn't mean it's the only vessel. A person can make his money, let's say he makes $50,000 from his profession. But if Hashem decided to give this person $350,000 for that year, he could still give him $350,000. Now you're going to ask how? Is there a limitation for how much Hashem can give? He can give it to him through an inheritance. So he got $50,000 from the job and $300,000 inheritance. He can get it to him from a lawsuit. He can give it to him from finding it. He can give it to him from investments. He can give it to him from a million other things. Meaning that Hashem gives you your money. Hashem gives me my money. So as far as the vessel, Kadosh Baruch Hu has no end of vessels. No end of the vessels. So the fact that I give lectures for free and we distribute everything for free is because I believe that en od milvado, that Hashem runs the world. That no matter what I do, Hashem will send me food to eat. Needless to say, if I do His will and I help His children come back to Him. So if He feeds the Rasha, the idol worshiper, if He feeds the guy that, is working all day, even if he's religious, He feeds other people, why wouldn't He feed me? Why wouldn't He provide for me? If all I'm doing is serving Him, praying to Him, learning His Torah, helping His children come back to Him, sacrificing my life, sacrificing my time, sacrificing my family, sacrificing my health, sacrificing everything that I have to publicize His name and help His children and the rest of the world get closer to Hashem. That's all I do. Every waking hour that I'm out is simply connecting, trying to get more people to come to Hashem, whether it's through publishing more books or giving more lectures or helping people, guiding them with answers and questions at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. All I do is serve Hashem. That's it. That's all I'm consumed with. And that means I have less time to be with my family, less time to take care of other things. That's it. So what? He's not going to feed me then? He's not going to feed me? He's going to leave me starving? Na raiti v'gam zakanti v'lo raiti tzadik ne'ezav. David HaMelech says, you say it in Birkat HaMazon, I've been young, I've been old, and I've never seen a righteous person, and his children not have food. Or Hashem abandoning them. So, yes, Kadosh Baruch Hu provides. Provides for you, provides for me. I don't really understand why people ask those types of questions. What do you care about the profession of somebody, the whether they rent or they mortgage or they bought the car, they leased the car, or they got a raise? Kadosh Baruch Hu provides it all, and that's it. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, you didn't get a bill for me to pay for my rent, right? You didn't get a bill for me to pay for my food. I'm not relying on you. So, what do you care how I get it or what I get? Kadosh Baruch Hu provides. Provides for me. He provides for you. If you say, oh, yeah, but, I want to donate. So donate. You're not going to get a call from me to ask you to donate. If you want to donate, donate. There's a website, bezrathashem.org. You can donate. You want to donate to send me money personally? Send money personally. There's a send a Zelle. You're just a curious person? Okay, fine. You got your answer. I don't understand those types of questions, to be honest with you. It doesn't. I usually like questions that I would ask also. I have asked before, but in my entire life, I've never asked somebody how they make money. Like I would ask somebody what they do for a living out of, getting to know a person, what they do for a living. But as far as how they pay for a house, how they pay for a car, whether they bought, they sold, I don't know. I never cared about other people's pockets. Don't understand. Don't understand. People ask. I know it's common. You're not alone, by the way. I don't even know who you are. I'm not targeting you or anything like that. It's a very common thing in society. I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. People ask all the time. They ask, Rav Ephraim all the time. Did you buy? Did you sell? Did you do this? How much do you have? Like, I don't understand that. Why do you care? Why do you care? I mean, is it coming out of your pocket? Are you paying for it? Did you get a bill from my bank or something like that? Why do you care? Hashem provides. Hashem provides. If you want to know, do I have Emunah or not? I work for free. I don't know. Isn't that indicative that I'm a decent human being? I work for free. I give you this lecture for free, 3 hours. Go get 3 hours for free from your doctor. Go get 3 hours from any lecturer. Good luck finding it. Only people that speak for for 3 hours are people that get money. I'm doing everything for free. I don't know. I think it's a good indication that I believe in Hashem. I'm decent. I don't know. I find those questions bizarre. All right. Is YouTube the only place to ask questions? No, I have 5 different screens in front of me. Really 6, but one of them for questions. I'm trying to go back and forth. There's Facebook, there's WhatsApp, there's YouTube, there is TikTok, and then there's just another camera. So there's cameras. If I don't get to your question, it's whoever, I don't get to their questions. It's not because I'm dodging questions. I just, I'm trying to get something from everywhere. Oh, wow, we're almost 3 hours. We got to finish this. Let me see. Is there a reason why I see most Jews with silver watches instead of gold watches? I wouldn't necessarily see most Jews, but silver is a rachamim, is mercy, whereas gold is din. So if somebody is wearing something based on their spiritual connection to Hashem and Torah, then silver is because usually they wear something silver, or at least white gold or platinum, because it's mercy. Whereas gold is din, is judgment. It's not prohibited to wear gold. Obviously, the Bet HaMikdash was full of gold. The gold is used, but some Chachamim say not to wear gold because it brings judgment. Rabbi, how can an electron be in 2 places at once if physically cannot be in 2 places at once, or is it only with a body and not electricity? How the electron is in 2 places? This is the part of quantum mechanics. This is how Hashem created the world. For certain things that are not necessarily on the physical level, like material, that are certain things that are closer to spirituality. The same concept, for example, with fire. Fire is very close to something completely spiritual, but it's not completely spiritual because you could see fire with the naked eye, and if you touch fire, obviously it's not going to be good for you. But you cannot hold fire. Can't grab it and hold it. You can't contain it. So there are certain things in creation that are in between. There's obviously the purely solid physical things. There is the things that are completely spiritual, like the luchot, the angels, the demons, different spirits, different things. There's something in the middle, like fire. And then there's also the different things that make up things like the electrons, protons, neutrons, atoms, all these different things. You can't really call them physical things. You can't call them completely spiritual. It's somewhere in between, similar to fire. And when something is not completely physical, it's not subject to the same laws as something that is completely physical, not just based on physics, based on just how Hashem runs the world. Like we saw, for example, with the example of the Aron HaKodesh, it was 100% physical. You could hold it, open it, touch it, but it was not subject to, because the spiritually speaking, it did not take up space. So this is beyond human comprehension. I live in New York and love it here. What should the Jews do if, God forbid, Madani wins the mayoral election next week? We should do tshuva today. I don't think you should wait for next week. Do tshuva today for believing that he could do anything to you that is not in the hands of Hashem. He has no power. Hashem has power. If Hashem wants good for Am Yisrael, no one can get in the way. If Hashem wants to punish Am Yisrael, no one can get in the way. So what people should be doing is stop being afraid of people, stop being afraid of politicians, stop being afraid of anything but Hashem. And od milvado. All right, let's see. One last question. We'll finish it tonight. I think it's been long enough. What do you think about the draft decree in Israel? What do you mean what I think about it? I mean, any Jew that has Yirat Shamayim knows that this is only going to bring problems to Israel because they're fighting against the Torah. They're simply fighting against the Torah. They think that fighting against the Torah learners is going to help, but they should look at history. Anytime anyone has fought against the Torah, it only brought them a disaster. Now, of course, Am Yisrael has to always do tshuva, has to always get stronger, has to always fight against somebody that's going against them, even if it's from within. But this is part of the Erev Rav that are going to fight even the Mashiach himself when he comes. So, this is part of the Erev Rav. This is part of the end of days. Okay, Rabotai. School mitzvot rabot. Hopefully, you guys will take some of this and apply it to your life. Anyone that wants to donate, you can go to bezrathashem.org. Also, as a reminder, anyone that wants the tzaddik that we have, the Avrech, tzaddik, Rosh Kollel, to pray for them at Kever Rachel, then you can go to the Bezrat Hashem website, go to the shops, and you can buy yourself the ticket over there. You'll get, if you do that, you'll get a video of him actually praying for you. You'll hear his voice, you'll see the candle he lights for you, you'll hear your name, and you'll get it right after he does it. Usually it's within a day or two we send it to people, and that's for Kever Rachel. It's a big thing that people do, that to do it all year, but it's a special thing to do it on her yard site, which is on Sunday. So if you want us to do it for you, you'll have to sign up no later than Motzei Shabbat, and even that's cutting it close, because I have to tell him, and he has to, he goes there on Sunday, which again is a 7-hour difference. And of course, for those of you that are clever and want to help Hashem's children to come back and not to go to Gehenom, get at least 10 of these Kiruv boxes that are simply the ultimate tool to help people do tshuva. Get 10, get 50, get 100, get as many as you can afford, And as Rabbi Ephraim said publicly, even if you have to go borrow money, go do it. It's worth it because it'll be an investment of a lifetime for you. You give it to somebody, they watch it, they'll do tshuva. It's simply a tool that's unlike anything else the world has ever seen. Get as many of them as you possibly can. I understand it costs money, but that's why Hashem gives money. Hashem gives money so you could use it to sanctify His name, not just to buy gold watches and silver watches. It's also to do Kiruv. Kol tuv, bracha v'atzlacha, and B'ezrat Hashem, we will learn again next week. Shalom v'cha rabotai, we're finally here. The new Kiruv box. Opens up, got a nice little cushion here. We got let's see if it's charged. Isn't that amazing? It's the box you know. Now available at BezratHashem.org. BezratHashem.org. Get yourself 20 of them, 30 of them, 50 of them. Distribute them to all the people that you care about. And you get people to do tshuva.